There was a revolution that was going on in our country that was taking on the establishment. You know, aren't we here to be able to have equal rights for all? Like, what's really going on?
Now you've got Kelsey Grammer on the set. How's it working with him? It's The Circuit with Valerie, and I'm your host, Valerie Somerville, and I have the distinct pleasure of talking with none other than I say media maven all the way around.
Okay,
all the way around.
Like
Mr. Devon Franklin, how are you?
I'm great, Valerie. Thanks for having me.
Man, so we've got this new movie coming out pretty soon, right? Jesus Revolution. How did this concept come about? Tell me about it, because like I'm not born in the 60s, right? And so if I'm not, how would I?
I wasn't either.
Okay, let's be clear.
Let's be clear.
But how would you correlate like the story of the film with what's going on in the civil rights movement during that time, what's going on with the whole hippie generation during that time? Talk to us a little bit about the movie without giving too much away.
Yeah, I mean, the movie is a true story, and it takes place in the late 60s when, you know, there were a lot of hippies that were getting off acid and finding Jesus. And so, you know, Time magazine in early 1970s did a cover story called Jesus Revolution, and it was all about this movement that was happening all across the country, and they were curious, like, what's really going on? So when you talk about, you know, okay, well, where's the correlation? Let's first talk about the civil rights movement. When you look at what was going on with the Jesus Revolution, it was this younger group of people that were taking on the establishment.
Okay.
You know, the religious establishment.
Yes.
Because the religious establishment was very much conservative, whereas these hippies were coming into church with no socks, no shoes, just wanting to find Jesus. And so there were some that were in the traditional establishment of the church that were saying, wait, we can't let them in. But then the younger people were saying, what do you mean you can't let us in? Isn't this what it means to be a faith? And so when you look at the civil rights movement, the establishment was saying, no, let's keep black people out. And black people were saying, no, aren't we a part of the promise of this country?
Absolutely.
You know, aren't we here to be able to have equal rights for all? And so when you look at the timing, there was a revolution that was going on in our country that was taking on the establishment and taking on the status quo. And this film, I think, is very relevant today because you're seeing that too. You know, you're seeing people say, wait a minute, shouldn't this country be for everybody?
Right.
You know, shouldn't the church be for all faiths? You know, shouldn't Jesus be for all people, no matter who you are? And so I think this movie, when people see it, will find that there's a direct correlation to the movement that's happening now. And even still needing to break down these kind of, you know, status quo of the establishment that the film really tackles, I think, in a very powerful and provocative way.
Okay. So now you are switching up on us. You're playing the switcheroo because typically you're the producer.
That's right.
Now you're in front of the camera. First time I've ever seen you in front of the camera. Number one, how was that for you?
You know what? I was, on one level, it was nerve-wracking.
Okay.
Because, you know, I've been producing for a number of years now.
For sure.
And before that, I was an executive. And so to take a step in front of the camera, you know, I know behind the camera exceptionally well. But to do it in front of the camera, it was a new experience, you know, having to learn my lines and, you know, really get into character, you know, but, you know, having been married to Megan for, you know, 10 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, in seeing her process, it actually didn't make it, like, the process wasn't that foreign to me.
It wasn't foreign, okay.
But to actually, like, have to know those lines, and when they say action, you know, be in character, that was nerve-wracking.
It's go time. It was go time. Okay,
but I think, given all of my experience, you know, it really gave me the opportunity to settle.
Yeah.
And you know, people tell me that the performance came off really well.
So for the people that see the movie, you are playing the character Josiah, who is the Time magazine reporter. How connected is Devon to that character? How much of Devon is in that character, and then how much did we really have to say, okay, you know what, this is not me, but guess what?
Yeah, you know what, I think a lot is in me because I've always been very curious. Okay. And so, you know, I play the reporter who goes from New York to LA to cover this story, to figure out what's going on. And so as a kid, I've always been curious. I've always asked questions. I've always said, you know, well, what about this and why and this? So, I mean, truly, growing up, people called me, you know, people say I'm nosy. I said, no, I just want information.
You're inquisitive. That's what it is. You're inquisitive.
Exactly. So, you know, this character wasn't that far removed from me.
Okay.
However, you know, this character is experiencing life in the late 60s. So I really went and did a lot of research about, you know, what was going on with black journalists at the time, and, you know, a journalist at the time working for Time magazine, what that story would have been. So I did a lot of research to prepare myself for this character. So while the character is not far removed from me, it's still a character.
For sure.
That I really put a lot of process in to make sure that I got it right.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So now you've got Kelsey Grammer on the set. How's it working with him?
It was great.
Okay.
great. He was so cool.
Okay.
He was so chill.
Okay.
Consummate professional. You know, and I was just like, wow, I'm doing a scene with Kelsey Grammer. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it went great. You know, he was incredibly generous. And the thing that was really cool about this experience for me, in addition to working with him,
Sure.
is that people, you know, who did not know who I was, like my persona or whatever, they just came up to me and like, oh, so how long you been acting? You know, I was like, well, you know,
that's funny.
I'm just getting started.
Right. This is the first film. That's interesting.
So working with Kelsey was just, the ice cream on the cherry on top, you know.
Yeah, for sure. So when people leave the theaters after seeing Jesus Revolution, what do you want them to leave with? What message do you really, really want them to walk away with, and maybe even spread, but just definitely walk away knowing, understanding? What do you want them to walk away with?
I think this movie portrays the value of Christianity and having a relationship with Jesus and what it really means in a more profound way than I've ever seen done from a modern film. You know, it's one thing to do like, you know, the actual story of Jesus, which is obviously very moving in the many iterations in which that story has been told.
For sure.
This is a story that is a true story that articulates and dramatizes, you know, the value of a relationship with Christ and why so many people have given their life to Christ. And so I think that I want people when they leave the theater to, one, just be reminded of the power of God's love and the power of what a relationship with Christ can do in their life, and to really know that the revolution continues. And that revolution really was a revolution of love.
Absolutely.
You know, a revolution that you know, broke down barriers and broke through race and broke through gender and broke through tradition. And I want people to walk out of the theater feeling like we got to keep this revolution alive. Our country is in need of a Jesus revolution.
Absolutely.
You know, and when I say that, I don't say that religiously. You know, I'm talking about,
no,
you know,
we
when you
need
look
Jesus.
at who Jesus,
Yeah.
when, you know, the leader of Jesus, you know, and the ministry of Jesus, it was one of inclusivity, it was one of love, it was one of empowerment, it was one of community, it was one of family, and we got to get back to that. I think our country has gotten divided, you know, in so many ways and for so many reasons, and my hope is that people can see this movie and say, you know what, well, at the end of the day, what are we arguing over?
Right.
We can all get on board with love. We can all get on board with the message of Christ, and let's do that, and I'm hoping that the movie is a catalyst for that. You know, people are calling this God's Forever Family. Is that what this is to you? Family? How'd you end up here? I did a lot of research for Jesus Revolution. I looked at Lonnie Frisbee and Catherine Kuhlman and Chuck Smith and the early days of Greg Laurie. I also looked at what was going on in the civil rights movement at the time. I was really trying to bring all of that history with me.
The late 60s is probably the lowest point in American history. And all of these things were converging into a very, very negative take on where America was headed.
We really were searching for a better way to live, a more purposeful life. There had to be something more out there than what we saw.
They were kids and they were hippies and they were rebels, and they got swept up into a movement. It actually became what many call the largest spiritual awakening in American history.
I think the Jesus movement really has involved different voices, and they really wove together to make a powerful movement. I think they just were hearing from the Spirit and walking together.
To see this beautiful revival of love and belonging with these very disparate groups of people, it gives me hope that that could happen again.
You get really invested in the period and the time and these characters and their relationships. Audiences are going to get a strong message of love and hope. There's hope and unity and miracles that I can't even explain. It's a family, man. Don't give up on it.
Well, you heard it first from the man himself, Devon Franklin. Thank you so much for taking time out to talk with the circuit with Valerie. Make sure you go check out Jesus Revolution in theaters near you, February 24th. We're live at New Birth for the Jesus Revolution movie premiere. Stick and stay. You don't want to miss it. I'm here with Shantae at New Birth. Hey. We are just about to view the film Jesus Revolution. Now, Shantae, what are you anticipating this film to do for you? personally?
For me personally, it is to get the love of Christ out to the world. I think that a lot of people have traditional concepts of what being a Christian and being a lover of God is, and this movie will be one that will document the revolutionaries that are out here now, like us at Newburgh. So we love everybody. We rocking untraditionally.
Untraditionally. So we're pushing the envelope, right?
Yes.
And we're welcoming everybody because God is love, right?
Yes.
And so you love them to and through their relationship with Christ.
They getting started.
Okay, so it looks like a whole lot going on over there.
They ready.
So we're just about ready to see the movie. I'm so excited. Jesus Revolution, I know that they're praying right now, so we're not going to be too disruptive, but we're just about ready to watch the movie Jesus Revolution with Devon Franklin as Josiah, and of course you got Kelsey Grammer and so many others that are in the film. So stick and stay right here on The Circuit with Valerie. And I'm here with Michelle Duffy of D3 Entertainment. Now, Michelle, we're just on the brink of seeing Jesus Revolution.
Absolutely.
How excited are you about this movie?
We're excited. This is one of the first premiere screenings that we've done, and I'm happy to do it here today with my brother, Dr. Brian. So we're excited.
Yeah. Looks like you brought the people out. You brought everybody out.
Yes.
So we want to say, make sure you go and check out Jesus Revolution
In theaters
on February 24th.
nationwide. It's going to be #1.
I am here with two of my favorite industry people, Larry Tinsley, Rodell Lewis. What's good?
It's just good to be here in your presence.
Hey, I'm happy to be in your presence. So now we're about to see this movie, Jesus Revolution. Yeah. What are we anticipating this movie to do for the culture?
Well, we talked to Devon Franklin earlier today, and he has high expectations for it. He wants everyone who sees this movie to follow him and realize that Jesus is Lord and that we should make him Lord and Savior of our lives.
Absolutely.
And one thing I picked out of the interview as well was the fact that it's for all cultures, all generations, where we can come together as one. And the main purpose is to know that it's all about Jesus.
Absolutely. I think sometimes we want to make sure that Jesus belongs to this group of people and this group of people, but really Jesus is for everyone. That was his ministry, and he encourages us to make sure that the gospel is spread throughout the world. So what a great way to do that than through this movie. So check it out, Jesus Revolution, in a theater, February 24th.